it made me start second guessing myself. It's like,
You're
am
like,
I saying it? Am I saying it wrong? But I wasn't. I
No,
wasn't. It's
because
just
you were an
limp.
ambassador for them.
We didn't need to
Let
bring
it
that up. Why do you?
Because that was my first interaction with you, so we can't forget when you were a Lulu.
This is already off to a terrible start.
Lemon.
I hate this video
ambassador.
already. Okay, I'm here with Marcela, Bruce, and we're here for two reasons. One, to
match.
to match. We're anyways, like I'm saying, I'm here with Marcela, Bruce. We're both in monogamous relationships.
Yes. Oh.
But in just a sec, we're gonna be two-timing them with the pump.
Yeah.
That's a long way of saying that we're gonna exercise, but we're just doing, what are we doing exercise-wise?
Oh, just a nice, quick 20 to 30 minute pump sesh. I like to call it like a bro sesh.
Oh.
Yeah, like you have to eat extra protein after you do this kind of workout.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So she wrote this. This wasn't a typewriter. Cable overhead tricep extension with a dumbbell Zotman curl. I love it.
Did you catch the hieroglyphics?
Yes.
Okay.
You must have spent some time in Egypt.
Okay.
The second reason we're here, and more importantly, is that Marcela just completed a very epic quest. We call that a Masogi around here. It's like a once a year, really, really hard physical adventure endeavor where there's a high likelihood that you may not complete it.
Yeah.
And so tell everybody what you just did.
It's called the Marathon des Sables. It's in Morocco, very specifically in the Sahara Desert. It's a 4-day race where you, essentially run/trek most of the Sahara in that region. A little less than 100 miles over that time frame. And it's self-sufficient, which is actually, I would say, 100% the hardest part, where you have to carry a backpack that has all of your food for the week and then any other essentials that you might need. Like your sleeping bag.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. I wanted one change of clothes at least to like wear at night that I didn't sweat in during the day to let my clothes dry. So even like change of clothes and a pair of sandals to let my toes breathe. But outside of that, it was safety blankets and mirrors and a compass just in case.
A mirror for
like signaling? Yeah.
Holy smokes. Oh man. Okay, let's get started. I want to talk all about it.
Yeah.
I'll talk while you do the thing. Amazing. Do I need to do the other one while you're doing this?
You can do whatever feels
Okay,
good.
you go, I'll go, and then you go and I'll go. I'll just follow
Cool.
you.
Yeah.
Was there anything that was on the packing list where it's like, man, I really want this, but I just don't have the space, or it's like too heavy?
Oh man, it even went down to like, I would love to pack an extra RX bar just in case I get hungry, but 4 extra RX bars takes a lot of space.
Yeah.
And
it's like a pound of food.
Yeah, so even just like, I might be hungry, I might want that, turned into like, okay, that won't fit, or that's gonna get too heavy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, 12 reps. Remind me when you started thinking about this, and tell everybody just the process of getting here, because I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, such a great question.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking. 2 years ago, we went on a staff retreat and we watched a Netflix documentary. And
I didn't realize that I don't remember.
It's human something, and
yeah, human suffering.
How to suffer your greatest. No, it was a lady who was running the race who had a prosthetic, and she like didn't complete the race. And I just thought the whole concept was really cool. I love watching people try hard things, maybe not accomplish them, but I also love to watch people accomplish hard things. Like, I'm the girl who like cries at the finish line of Ironmans, or like the golden buzzer. Like, I cry at those. So
Who doesn't?
So I watched this documentary, saw the lady, was like, I want to do that. And that was 2 years ago, like to date almost.
Huh.
And was like, okay, if I do that, I need to backtrack a little bit and probably start running. Because at the time I didn't run at all. Let me grab dumbbells.
Okay. What are you grabbing?
12.
12s. Okay.
Anyways,
I'll grab
okay.
50s.
Yeah. So anyways, I started running. No, I set a couple milestones, like, hey, I should be able to run a half by this time. I should be able to run a marathon by this time. And then to complete the ultra, I need to be able to run this distance by this time. So I backtracked it 2 years.
Is this what we're doing?
Yeah.
Up like a normal, and then just down. Oh, that's good.
And so trained myself all the way up into the marathon. And I knew that this trail running / trekking / camping situation was something where I would need a coach to guide me to even, one of the best things that my coach and I did was have a call where we just talked gear.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
yeah, we were like, this is the
That's
best
what I want to do for a
backpack.
living.
Truly. I mean, even
No,
stuff,
I'm not going to train you. I'm just going to talk about like stuff you could go
what
buy.
you should, yeah. Let me tell you how to look
God,
really
I'd be
cool.
so good. I'd be so good at that.
But just like, you don't, I mean, even the question she asked me, like, hey, you know, how tall are you? And I like told her, because I mean, everything's remote with my coach. And she was like, hey, you need a smaller backpack than what they recommend. And I was like, why? She's like, the other backpacks are going to be too long on you and they're going to rub you. And I was like,
That's a
I
good
didn't even
coach.
think about that.
Yeah, genius.
So, anyways.
What do you want? You were at 40? You want
Yeah.
50? Or you stay at 40?
You can go 50.
Okay. Did I pressure you into that?
No.
Okay.
So anyways, hired a coach. And yeah, it's been a 2-year endeavor of really training for this Musogi. We had done the ATP right around the same time as we watched that documentary as a staff and went on that staff retreat. So I just knew.
I honestly didn't realize that it was then. And isn't it cool how like the universe conspires by like bringing a lot of things together to be like, hey, this is what you need to do.
I saw the race and I was like, there's aspects of this race that I think I'm gonna be really good at. Being in the heat and being alone. I'm really good at being alone, being an introvert. And then I saw the race, I was like, yeah, well, I can't run 400 meters, so should probably learn how to do that
That
well.
part,
Yeah.
not as strong.
Yeah.
Did it meet those inclinations? Like, was that true? Like, did you do well being by yourself? Like, did it feel like the heat was a factor and you were better than other people?
So funny you say that. Yes. The reason I brought up like that was during the ATP, the section where we're like, hey, what are some things that like have to be true for you to be really good? The aptitude section.
Yeah.
I had that top of mind. So when we were watching that documentary, I was like, hey, this actually checks off a lot of things for me. And so to answer your question, yes. When we were talking through gear and you asked the question of like, hey, were there things that you wanted / didn't want?
Yeah.
One of the things that I decided to not bring with me was a like battery pack to charge my phone.
Yeah.
But I brought my Kindle instead. Like that was a decision I made. I was like, I'd rather not be able to communicate, but have a book to read.
Huh.
And the reason I brought a book instead of brought a Kindle versus a book is like the Kindle takes way less space. than like a book would.
Yeah.
So to answer your question,
Yeah, that
like
makes sense.
the being alone in the desert part was actually really easy. I had my Kindle and just got to really recharge. And then the heat, I was expecting to be challenged by it, but like I like it. And it turned out, well, one, on the first day, it rained for the first time in 15 years. In the
Really?
middle,
15 years?
15 years.
Holy smokes.
And the people hosting it were like, hey, this is a great thing. This brings water to like the community for years. Like, you want to celebrate it, like trying to sell us that like, it's gonna be great.
It's so awesome.
And I was getting pelted so hard by the rain. Like, it hurt. It was raining. Like, I could probably not see you if
Did
you're
you
running
have
in
rain
front of
here?
me.
Because that, honestly,
No.
that's not something I would have thought
No.
to even
No,
include
you
in a
think
desert race,
yeah,
right?
you think desert. I was wearing a tank top and shorts, and I mentioned that because of the temperature. I was like, I'm gonna crush it in the sun, and ended up being cold and rainy. I was running with a girl from Belgium, and she was like, yeah, this is, like, I'm good. This is Belgium weather. And I was like, this is
This is not.
not what I'm,
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
even to the point where she was like, oh yeah, it rains so much in Holland and in Belgium that you just like learn to run in the rain. I was like, it rains in Dallas, and I'm like, oh, bummer. Guess I gotta run tomorrow. Like, you know, but it was cold. It was so cold that's why the rain hurt so bad. And that's not what I was expecting. But then the next day, it was like sunny and 85 and breezy. And to me, that's like patio weather. But there's a lot of Europeans there, and they were like, it is. Yeah, they were like, I can't handle this, like wetting their handkerchiefs. And I was like, I would watch football on a patio in this weather. Like, I'm crushing it. So to answer that question, I was like, yeah. And so I was trying to explain to a lot of the people there had never been to the States, and they were like thinking of California or New York. They're like, no, it's like beautiful, and you like hang out outside all the time. I was like, no, like I'm from Texas. We don't do that. We hang out like 20% of the year outside. So anyways, to answer the weather question very specifically, I crushed that part.
What was the most challenging? What was the most unexpected part? Because I'm wrapping my head around 3 days. That was one of the parts that I was really nervous for you about. It's like, hey, it's not just one day or one extended day, but it's like start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, right?
I think the hardest, most unexpected was I pride myself on someone who's very low maintenance. I grew up camping, love camping, like love it. I went to Hawaii last year with Britt, and we stayed in a camper for a week.
I bet a lot of people would be surprised by that.
That
You're so good at like that aspect, because I think that's a huge part of this race is like
Huge
camping. Yeah.
huge part of the race is the camping aspect, which I like. I'm so thankful that that was such a big family activity I did growing up. So
And your
I've done a
parents
lot
are
of-
very adventurous, very outdoors.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, like last year, camped through Hawaii with Britt, and we didn't shower for a week, and I didn't think twice about it. I was like, yeah, I mean, that's just what you do when you go camping. However, that was one of the most challenging parts because there's so much sand, you can't escape the sand.
Yeah.
And you don't even realize like how big of a difference, even just having a change of clothes, even if like you're dirty, like not having a change of clothes. I washed my clothes with drinking water. I was like, do I wash my clothes or do I drink more water? I washed my clothes at some point, but you can't escape the sand. So I had sand in places that like you don't want sand and you can't escape it. Like there's sandstorms at night. You're like, even if you hide in your tent, sand goes in your tent.
Were blisters and chafing like a problem just because that was everywhere?
I wore toe socks, which I think saved me from a lot of blisters. Two of the guys they have you set up in like little camps where it's like 6 tents all kind of like grouped together. And some of the guys had like severe blisters that had to get like pulled out and like all this stuff. I got really fortunate.
And did they wear toe socks?
They didn't.
They didn't wear toe socks.
Wear toe
It's
socks.
because of the toe socks.
But then some people who did, I mean, I got some, blisters just from the day that it rained. My shoes were soaking wet.
Yeah.
But not anything bad. I think a lot of that is I've gotten really used to the Dallas moisture and humidity that I think it really trained my skin. Like getting a pedicure before I left, I was like, no, please leave those blisters. I want them.
I've worked hard for those.
Yeah. And they're like trying to shape it down. I'm like, no, I need that. But so I didn't experience any blisters. A lot of the people in my camp did, but chafing, like, because you have sand on you and you're sweating and you're not changing outfits, sand gets in places that you don't even know sand existed in those areas until like my first shower. I was like, one, how do I have a rash there? And two, how many raspberries can I really have on my body? Because you don't, you can't see your backside. All of a sudden you're in the shower and you're like, holy, water doesn't feel good. But I had Body Glide. Like, I don't know if you've seen the, like, it looks like deodorant.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was doing it in every spot. My backpack hit, my shorts hit, everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, you head to toe, you just had to.
Body Glide.
Had to
Except
lube
just
up.
so you know, sand sticks to it.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's tricky. What would you, because we've worked together for a good many years, and so there was a season where you were super content training in the gym, right? That was the extent of what training was for. It's like, hey, I love training. I'm in here and I'm just enjoying working out. And then, like you said, there were a couple of things that happened that sparked this new season where it was like, no, I'm training for this thing. So what advice would you have, or what words of wisdom would you have for someone that feels like, okay, maybe I'm coming out of this phase where exercise is great just for itself, into this phase of, hey, I want to use my training for something, some adventure? What would you say?
Gosh. I feel like that's kind of a twofold question. For myself, I have a naturally competitive spirit in a good way. I would say it's like good competition. And I felt like for a big season of my life, that showed up in my career. So I think I used training as this like, hey, this is just my way of life, and this spirit of competition that I have, I use to challenge myself in my job. And then I thought to myself one day, and more just like realizing how content I was in my career and how like much fun I was having, was like, what would it look like to flex this maybe in something that's been a little bit more dormant, like training, where I've been just kind of in this routine. How do I shake it up? And a lot of that was through ATP, where I was like, oh, I like with loving exercise, I've just become like a good exerciser, not like good at a sport per se. So I was like, how can I actually use this fitness that I've been creating for a really long time to do something that I would actually really enjoy? And when we went through the ATP process of, oh, I can actually find something that uses the fitness I've been training, plus this thing of enjoyment that I really have, which is training. Like, I love to train for something. Have never loved the like competition part. Like, even in sports, I've always loved, in wrestling, it was like I loved
Same.
practice,
Yeah.
hated the meets.
Yeah, same.
And so I was like, well, what would it look like to do something that's not in trail running, it's like the pool is so big, to be the top is like, I mean, you have been doing this for years.
Easy not to think about that.
Yeah, and instead I was like, oh, how can I kind of combine the two together? And that's where I've always loved camping, being outside, like I was like, okay, this looks like
So that was a
something
big
I
part
would
of
enjoy.
choosing this one is
Yeah.
because it had that aspect. That's
Yeah.
cool. So again, like looking at the aptitudes that you had to help select like the adventure you wanted to go on.
100%.
Huh.
Taking the like aptitude test, I was like, okay, I know I want to be outside. Okay, I know I like the camping aspect. I like the adventure aspect. Like it has to be in an unknown place. You know, like running like Rock Lake, I wouldn't say is like the thing that I'm like, that's adventure, that stokes me. But running in a brand new place really does. So anyways, combine all of that. But to answer the question of advice, I think it's actually, I don't want to say like, okay, take the aptitude, but figure out how something that you might really enjoy, how can you train for that thing differently? Like I even played around with the idea of like doing a really hard hike instead. But like I mentioned, I'd been training fitness for so long, I wanted to use it and like see what I was actually capable of doing. But yeah.
Any final thoughts on this incredible thing you accomplished?
I thought, actually, as I was like finishing the race, there's a couple things I realized about myself. I have amnesia when it comes to doing hard things. Like, luckily I journaled there was a day we ran 38 miles and I like journaled.
Don't forget
like,
this.
This was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And then like Friday when I saw Spencer and he was like, hey, how'd it go? I was like, it was the best thing I've ever done. It wasn't hard at all, like total fun the whole way. So I'll have to say, there's two things I really learned. One, journal experience the whole way through to be able to like read back. But two, I thought this would either be like a check the list, like that was my Misogi, like that's it, okay, you know, I'll never do that again. It ended up being like okay, now what can I do next? Like it's really sparked this new thing for me.
How do you see yourself differently now that you've gone through this experience?
Oh gosh, I think more just capable. Like we've had many conversations, but growing up, and it's so funny because I've heard this 1,000 times from my mom, family, friends, people have known me, is like I always said I hated running. Hated running. I would intentionally, when I first started training, like wear sandals or Vans so that someone's like, hey, we have to run. I'd be like, bummer, can't run. But I think a lot of it was, I mean, somewhere when I was like, like 6, maybe someone said I was slow, and I like got in my head about it. And I was like, I'm slow, that means I'm bad, and therefore I should just not do it. And so doing this has actually like shut off that like 6-year-old experience.
It's updated that software.
Yeah, where it's like, oh no, like actually you can run. You might still be slow, but like who cares?
Yeah.
So it's made me feel a lot more capable and just more excited to see where else I can push that I might have, like I said, I think I got so comfortable with training, left it kind of dormant of like, oh, it's just my way of life, to like realizing, oh, I can actually really flex this, really challenge this to what are other areas of my life where like it could be a little sleepy right now, that I can upgrade to.
Incredible. Incredible. Can we finish with one just like visual experimentation? Can you button that top button on your shirt?
My cholo fit?
Well, we're just doing some research here.
Only if I can wear your hat backwards.
We got khaki shorts, and then just
I forgot my compression socks.
All right, good.
Far out.
Hey, as we close, she's mentioned ATP, which is a course we did a few years ago. It's called Action Training Program? Protocol?
Yeah.
It's one of those P words. It was, how many weeks did we do it?
9.
9 week. We're gonna offer a link, and I'm making this up on the spot, a discount code if you want to participate in this course.
You have to put MAR in the promo?
It's Cholo. The promo code is Cholo. All right, thanks, Mar.
Far out.
Subscribe!